The age of on-demand entertainment has completely ruined us, and I'm speaking from like first-hand experience. We all want instant gratification, short, quick, and convenient entertainment. We all want like dopamine hits throughout the day through the act of scrolling on all of our social media platforms, Instagram, TikTok, Threads, Twitter, Facebook, Pinterest. And I think a huge reason why instant gratification is so important for so many people is because of social media, is because we are always consuming content, and especially short form content. We are consuming a shit ton of short form content on all social media platforms. Everybody is making content. You never run out of content. Whenever you are scrolling, there's always something there for you to see and for you to watch. And every time you scroll, there's always an ad. You never know if what you're seeing is AI. There's always someone trying to get you to buy something or do something or convince you of something. And it's just exhausting. It is just so exhausting. And the act of scrolling, which used to be fun whenever I first got social media, has just not been fun. It is just no longer fun. Hi besties, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, hi, hello, my name is Emily and I love to chat about the library, plants, and other things that I'm doing. And if you are returning, welcome back. Today's video is a little bit different than what I normally make, but it all ties in, I promise. This is just something that has been weighing on my mind so much recently, and I recently got a brick, which if you don't know, it's like a little box thingy that you like can put on your fridge or you can take it with you or whatever, but you download the app and you can say what apps you like don't want, like you want to be bricked for you to not be able to use when your phone is like bricked. And I promise this is not an ad, like that I am telling you that I started using the brick and I realized how bad my like mental state had gotten because of the short form scrolling and the need for instant gratification. And it is because I have been using the brick. So it's just something that's been in my mind, you know? But I wanted to talk today about how, since I've gotten the brick, how I kind of have like used my local library to help cure my instant gratification, my need for instant gratification. And I noticed this like kind of, so I graduated college in 2019 and it was right before the pandemic and everything shut down because the pandemic is still going on, like people are still getting COVID. But I think that is whenever the need for like scrolling just all day kind of exploded. And I think that that was with the explosion of TikTok and especially book talk, because that was the type of content that I was consuming. And prior to that, I was like going to the library, I was going to Barnes & Noble to find my next book. I didn't really consume booktube content or bookstagram content. I got a lot of my book recs just from like word of mouth. And so reading was like very enjoyable and I really liked finding new books for me to read. And one of the ways that I did that, one of the main ways I did that was through the library. And when COVID hit, everything shut down and I just have been glued to my phone for 6 years since then. And one of the things I tried to do last year that I want to make more of an effort to do this year is to use my library more to like be able to help my need for instant gratification, my need for like on-demand content and like all the things that I had said earlier, to see if that helps my mental state, to see if that helps my stress levels and my cortisol levels. And I have done a little bit of like research into this because I genuinely like want to better myself and I wanted to see if there are things in my life that I'm already doing or already going, places I'm already going that can help me with this. So as I was saying, like the need for instant gratification I think has just gotten so bad over the last few years. And there's a couple ways that it has like especially gotten bad in the last 5 years, but really like the last 15 years, it's just been getting worse and worse and worse. But it is like, it has been a huge cultural shift, and that is with your personal life, with your work life, with your online life, like your personal life. People know that you are always on your phone. You are expected to like reply to their text messages immediately, or like they may be offended. And I don't know if that's like really a true friend, if they're offended if you take like a couple hours or a day to reply. You are like expected to always be available for someone to reach you. And for work, you are expected to like do as much work as you can as fast as possible. And it's always like, it's very fast paced, and everyone has been saying like how fast paced and stressful their job is, but like nobody really works in a fast paced and stressful job unless you are working in like a hospital where it's truly life and death. And with social media, especially the short form content, like you're just scrolling and scrolling and scrolling, and if something doesn't catch your eye like right away, if in the first 5 seconds your attention is not grabbed, you scroll by. And that is just crazy. And for me, and I think a lot of people feel similar to me, it has bled into my personal life, and especially like with chores, or I don't even know, just like going on dates with my husband, like chores, I'm tensed. I'm like scrubbing the floor, trying to get it done as fast as possible. Why? There's like no reason that I need to be stressing myself out about doing chores, about loading and unloading the dishwasher as fast as possible, about not wanting to make meals that take more than 15-20 minutes because that takes too long. It would actually take me more time to like drive to a drive-through, wait in that line, get the food, go back to my house and eat than it would for like a lot of the meals that I just don't want to make. Because they take too long in my brain. Like my brain thinks they're gonna take too long. And I've been on a health journey the last, I don't know, couple months with PCOS and specifically trying to manage my stress levels and my cortisol levels. And I have really had to like look within myself to see what is causing me so much stress. What is making my cortisol levels rise? And how can I fix that? And I have realized that every single aspect of my life raises my cortisol levels. Like I got a Rincon so I could track my stress levels throughout the day. It is constantly high to the point where even overnight, it's in the red. When I'm sleeping, my stress levels are still too high. And the constant feeling of just needing to do, always needing to do something is just exhausting. It is not a way that I can live anymore, and it is quite honestly destroying me. And I think the outline of my life and like my day-to-day is just very similar to that of a lot of people who, I don't know, maybe are like my age in their mid upper 20s, or even just people who live in America, where we wake up, we check our phones, we hopefully eat breakfast every single day. We go to work, we are expected to work ourselves to death. We come home, we are exhausted. Or if you work from home like I do, you never really feel like you leave work. I wouldn't give up working remotely, working from home for anything, because I can do a lot during the day. Like I can do chores, I can do dishes, I can do laundry, I can like take care of my dogs. Like it allows me to have the lifestyle that I want, but the trade-off to that for me is that I never feel like I leave home, or I never feel like I leave work. I feel like I'm always at work. So after work, after I've done as much as I possibly can, and I'm stressed throughout the entire day, I'm just exhausted and I don't want to make dinner. And so I'm trying to make very quick meals that I don't even know if they are very healthy. I'm so lucky to have a husband who does most of our cooking because he knows that it is a source of anxiety and stress for me. And then after work, I'm just so exhausted from the day that I just want to scroll on my phone at night. And the act of scrolling used to be fun whenever I first got on social media, but now like the term doom scrolling is so popular because genuinely what we're doing is doom scrolling. Like you're scrolling on your phone that you know was built on child labor and slavery and a genocide. And we're just seeing horror after horror after horror on our little phone screens. And we know that our taxpayer dollars, especially if you live in the United States, are funding all of these gruesome and diabolical and horrific things that you are seeing on your phone. So the act that you are, or at least, okay, I say you, but I'm like talking about me, but I think a lot of people can relate. The act that we are doing of scrolling on our phones at night because we're so exhausted, what we're seeing on our phones is also making us so exhausted, like mentally, because for a lot of us in the United States, like truly there is, I don't want to say there's nothing that you can do, but it is very hard to feel like you can make a difference when you are just one person and all of our politicians are corrupt. But that is like a whole other separate video that I won't be getting into in this one. So anyways, I have been working really hard to find a balance between staying informed with everything that I'm seeing on my phone, doing what I need to do at work, around the house, and then also finding ways to have like rest days or days where I focus on me and what I need, while also incorporating hobbies that I find joy in. And reading is one of the hobbies that I find the most joy in. I love reading. And this is where libraries for me have become a huge lifesaver. I've been going to the library since I was like a child, since I was very small. That's like, I don't want to say one of my first memories, but I have a lot of memories from my childhood going to the library. And I still obviously love the library. I talk about the library so much. I volunteer at the library. I go at least once a month to get a handful of books that I'm going to read that month. So I wanted to kind of go back to my original point of how we are living in an age where everyone needs instant gratification and how that is really destroying all of our cortisol levels, and share some ways in which I have found peace at the library to help overcome both of these things to live a better life. And please know, when I'm saying instant gratification, I am not just talking about the book space. Like, instant gratification is everywhere, but because I am a book account and I know a lot about books and libraries, that's kind of what I'm going to tailor this video towards, because I think book talk especially is kind of bad with feeding into the need for instant gratification. And let me explain. So with the rise of book talk in 2020, it was just like a new form of content, of short form content that everyone could consume very quickly and also honestly could consume a lot of it throughout the day. But now Book Talk is just such a different space than it was 6 years ago, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that because change is natural, but I think the way that I have been consuming it has become harmful to myself, wherein like, okay, so, you know, books become very popular very quickly, everyone starts talking about it, like everyone kind of jumps on the bandwagon, and then you need to like get that book immediately because you want to jump on the bandwagon, because you want to read this book that everyone is reading, because you're feeling FOMO. And especially if you're a content creator, you want to be able to read that book so that way you can make timely content and content that people actually want to consume and are currently consuming and you know performs well. And if you're not a content creator, then maybe you find this book and you just instantly add it to your TBR. You want to read it immediately, so you go wherever you go to get books to get it immediately. And that is instant gratification. And I think it also feeds into overconsumption, but that is also not something that I'm talking about in this video because that is kind of a whole other separate topic. But that's just with physical books. With ebooks, you kind of, I mean, sometimes you have to wait if it's not on ebook already, or if you're getting it from your library, you probably have to wait as well because everyone is going to get it from Libby, and then you have a long wait times. And this is kind of where the library for me comes in and has actually been super helpful. So clearly I have so many books on my bookshelf. I have like 300 or 400 books on my bookshelf. I would say, actually, I don't know how many I haven't read, but I have read a large majority of them. But there are some books on there that I haven't read, or I've been gifted, or I did feed into the hype and I purchased before I was ready to read them. Or not ready to read them, but I purchased them when I was like seeing videos about them and I like, it sounded interesting, so I wanted to read them and I haven't read them yet. Anyways, you get it. And so anyways, the way that library comes in, where it's helping me not feel the need to obtain books for the instant gratification. Yes, ebooks, like I said, if you place a hold on Libby, like you have to wait, or even audiobooks, sometimes there is a wait. But for me personally, it is getting physical books from the library. So much so that this year, I think I'm going to focus only on reading books from my library. And yes, some from my bookshelf. I'm sure there will be some audiobooks or ebooks that I read, but primarily I'm going to be reading books from, like, physical books from my library. And a lot of times I have to place holds for my library books. And I love that everyone is reading them, you know, because they are popular books, but that has really made me sit in my need for the instant gratification because I have to wait for my hold to come in. I have to go to the library to pick it up. I have to talk to my librarian while I'm there. And since I've started doing this, I've actually found joy in the waiting for my books because it's kind of like the anticipation of getting your book. It's fun. It has brought the fun back into reading, and especially like going into my library space and going into that library environment is very calming. And please don't mistake what I'm saying as you cannot buy books, because that's absolutely not true. This is just a little think piece that I am getting off my chest, and maybe it will help one other person, because I do tend to lend a lot of books or borrow a lot of books and then purchase them. And actually, I think a good idea for a future video would be like how I use the library but also support authors. So I'm gonna put that on the back burner. But the way that I have felt my mindset shift since I've started using the library, the physical library, way more, is that I no longer am like, you know, want a book immediately because I know I'm gonna have to wait. I no longer feel like I need to read that book as fast as I possibly can because I know that I have a couple weeks with my library hold. And actually, I think a little bit of like the environmental stress that we currently feel in the world, because the world is like burning. Next day shipping, overnight shipping, same day shipping, like that shipping through like Amazon, and honestly even like bookshop.org has a very quick shipping. Love supporting the post office. Most of them don't use the post office though. How good really is that for the environment? Like, what is the carbon footprint of getting a book delivered the next day? So anyways, that is also like a whole other video and think piece in and of itself. But that's all to say that borrowing books is just one little aspect of like how I have helped to fix my need for instant gratification by using the library. I mentioned one a little bit earlier as well, not being so stressed while I'm reading books. There has been a huge push to read every single book on your physical TBR. Like, that's a challenge that a lot of people have for themselves. And I think a lot of us are like feeding into the pressure of feeling like we can't have any unread books on our bookshelf. And that conversation stems from overconsumption, especially within the book industry and the book community. And again, that's a whole separate video in and of itself. But I have found that when I read physical books, I read way slower than if I were to read ebooks or audiobooks. And I don't know why that is. I assume it's because audiobooks I read on like 2.5, 3x speed, which is insanely fast. but that's kind of like how fast my brain works. And I'm sure I should slow down a little bit, you know, while I'm listening to audiobooks, but I can only do so much. I like listening to them pretty fast. But when I'm reading ebooks, especially on my Kindle, like Kindle has in the little corner, there's so many minutes left of your chapter or left of the book or the percentage that you're at. And I don't know, like to me, my brain, I think because of the culture that we're currently in, that feels like a challenge to me. It feels like I need to beat that. It feels like I need to do better than that. And it's hindered my enjoyment while reading ebooks because I'm constantly looking at the bottom corner to see if the time has gone down, if I have made more progress than what it said I was going to, if I'm like winning, you know? And so I end up trying to read faster for ebooks, but that has like really hindered my enjoyment. And so I've kind of like turned away from ebooks for a little bit in part of this like helping to cure Emily's brain type of challenge for myself this year. And so for physical books, I kind of feel the same way with books that are on my bookshelf. Like I was saying, because you feel like you have to read every single book on your bookshelf. So when I pick a book up that I haven't read from my bookshelf, my brain says you need to read that book as fast as you can so that way you can get to the next book on your bookshelf and eventually have no books left on your bookshelf that are unread. That's insane. That's so insane for my brain to be telling me that, because books are supposed to be fun. They're supposed to be fun. You're supposed to find enjoyment in reading, and it's not like a race. So that's primarily why I get a lot of my physical books from the library, and I do read a lot of my books physically from the library, because with your library books, like the feeling of having the library book in your hands, like to me, it's just different. It takes me back to like whenever I was younger and I didn't have a lot of books. I didn't own a lot of books. I got most of my books from the library. So I think it's like a little bit of like a reminiscent, something that has been ingrained in me when I'm holding a plastic covering on a library book that like, we're good. Like you can calm down. And also, I don't know if this is the right way to say it because it also feels kind of insane to be saying this, but having like the 3-week loan time with my library books, I feel calmer having that 3-week wait time or the 3-week hold time because I know that I have 3 weeks to read it, so I don't need to read it immediately. Does that make sense? Like it's a due date, but it's not the same type of due date that my brain associates with physical books that I own or even ebooks where I need to read it as fast as I possibly can so that way I can get on to the next book. Like I am able to slow down a little bit more whenever I am reading physical books from the library, and I have found that I have really, really, really enjoyed that because I have gotten to be able to like sit with the reading and find joy in it again because there's like less stress with it now. And the last way that I have been using my library to help fix this part of my brain is the act of actually going to the library. And again, I think this might be because the library has just been so ingrained in me since I was younger, and the library is just such a place of like safety and relaxation. And like I was saying before, like everyone expects you to be like on your phone and to do and to always be available and to always be doing something and to always be buying something and always have a purpose for doing what you're doing. But when you go to the library, genuinely, nobody expects anything from you. You can just go there. You're allowed to solicit because there's a lot of no soliciting signs. You can just go, not at the library like other places, but you can just go there. You can just sit and do nothing. You can just sit there and read. Even the act of browsing the library shelves is very calming to me, and I think it's because, well, I actually don't know why it's because, what is the because? That was such a weird sentence. I don't know what the reasoning behind browsing the shelves feels so calming to me, but like, it's not the same sense of like browsing Barnes & Noble shelves. You know what I mean? And like knowing you're in a space that is just so ingrained in the community and does so much for the community and is there to serve the community and know that it is there for you and not that you need to be there for it has really helped me find peace at the library. And a lot of times when you walk in, like, you know, just has that like vibe, that very calming vibe. It just has the smell of the library, you know, it has the sounds of the library. I love filming the library ASMR read with me vlogs on my channel because I know a lot of people aren't able to go into the library, so that's what those vlogs are kind of there for. And it also kind of forces me to be a little bit more present in the library because I don't want to keep like picking up my phone while I'm filming myself and like be a little hypocritical. So it also is like forcing me to keep my phone down while I'm reading at the library. And when you're there, you can just like look at the library and curated displays. Like a lot of times they have comfy chairs. It's just very peaceful at the library. So it's a nice place to go and just kind of like recalibrate, especially when there's every other aspect of our life that is just like wanting you to like do as fast as you can. The library has allowed me as like a visitor and a patron to just like really slow down for a minute, browse the shelves, just relax, kind of like I was saying, recalibrate my nervous system, just kind of be present in the library and like empty my brain of like all the other things that I have on my to-do list and I'm like constantly thinking about. And so I guess the purpose of this video is just like if you are kind of feeling the same thing that I'm feeling or was feeling or are currently feeling and want to find a way to like undo that or unlearn that within yourself, the library might be helpful for you. I think the culture of libraries is just very relaxing, and I know I'm not alone in thinking that way. And honestly, like in the age where instant gratification and on-demand entertainment and needing to do everything so quickly and have things so fast, using your library in this way is like an act of resistance. Like a lot of libraries have kind of modernized with, you know, having like the self-checkouts and stuff like that, but I think the core of what a library is kind of like everything that fights against the need for instant gratification, if that makes sense, and like fast-paced living. It's helping me find peace and honestly joy in reading again. So that was my think piece. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. That was just a lot. I feel a lot better talking about that. Hopefully that helps one person who maybe needs help with this. Anyways, if you skip to the end, TLDR, it was just use the library because it might make your life better. So pretty on brand for me and my channel and what I talk about. Anyways, if you guys have found any other like tips and tricks that have helped you personally deal with the same kinds of like feelings and emotions that I have kind of outlined in this video, please let me know, because I do really want to focus this year on helping to like manage my stress and lower my cortisol levels, not only because I think we all like really need to be the best version of ourselves, but also because like health-wise I need to, and that is very hard when everything around you does the opposite. So that's that. Live, laugh, love the library, obviously, and live, laugh, love you all, and make sure to like, subscribe, and do all of the things that you would normally do on social media channels. Okay, bye!